Hi, this is Kate Kennedy from the Kane Area Development Center, serving as a PA Wilds ambassador for the Wilds Are Working series. I'm here today with Royce Novosel-Johnson and Mike Dunn from Logyard Brewing. Welcome, Royce and Mike. We are glad to have you with us to share how you're pivoting your company in these uncharted times.
Thanks for having us, Kate.
Thank you, Kate.
Well, why don't we go ahead and start with who you are? So, will you describe Logyard Brewing for us?
Sure.
Yeah. So we are a craft brewery here in Kane. About a year and a half in that we've been in production. We have a production facility in Kane. We have a nice tap room right on the main street in Route 6 in Kane. We also are big into distribution. So we distribute to currently 44 different counties in Pennsylvania, including all of the Pennsylvania Wilds. We'll keep expanding from there. I'm originally from Kane, lived elsewhere for a while, moved back a few years ago. I met Mike when we worked together in DC, and he was trying to start a brewery. He was interested in starting a brewery in Northern Virginia area, and talked about the difficulties in doing it there. And then we talked about the advantages of potentially doing something like that in Kane, in a rural community, and especially with the economic impact it could have for a place like Kane, more so than it would for Northern Virginia. Not that there's anything wrong with Northern Virginia. And we decided to make a go of it with, we have a third partner, Tim Robinson, who's not with us for the interview here, but the three of us really came together and put this thing in motion.
So you're in Kane, which is in the PA Wilds. What has that been like for you to have? How many people are you employing, and how has that played out for you being here in the PA Wilds?
It's been fantastic for us. That was one of the main points what Royce and myself and Tim were talking about, and why we chose Kane and as part of the PA Wilds. Is most people would think it was really a weakness, but a perceived weakness, when it was actually a strength. And it's enabled us to focus on distribution as opposed to having to rely on a heavily foot traffic tap room like most breweries. So prior to COVID-19, we employed 18 people. And right now, with our transitional period, we're trying to ramp back up to that as well. So prior to that, a few months ago, was 18.
Yeah, so you have the brewery where you actually do the brewing, and then you have the tap room. Lots of distribution throughout the PA Wilds and beyond. How have you had to pivot your operation since the COVID-19 restrictions?
Well, when this whole thing hit, we had been preparing for a couple large rollouts in different markets, and that included, a lot of bars and restaurants, and that's the vast majority of where our beer goes to. It's probably 80% of where all of our beer ends up. So we had a fully stocked cooler. We had fermenters completely filled with beer, and so when this all hit, we had at that point it became an oversupply of beer. So we couldn't brew, we couldn't do anything else because we didn't have the room. So unfortunately, we had to lay everybody off with the expectation that, given time, weather the storm, we'll be able to start bringing people back. And that's where we are now. And one of the ways we got through this was to be able to bring on these new markets. And we're fortunate we have some really good partners in these markets, such as Penn Beer up in Erie and Midstate down in Williamsport, that just rolled us out, because in an ideal world, this is not the time you're going to launch a new brand into a market. And, first conversations were, let's hold off until things normalize. But nobody knows when that's going to be. So we said, hey, look, if we want to make sure there's still a log yard when this is all said and done, we need to move this forward. We need to get this beer into the distributors, the grocery stores, everywhere that is moving beer, and do it now. And they came on board with that, and we've rolled out into these two markets. So we're laying a good foundation in these new places. We just realized that we couldn't sell as much in a concentrated area, so we had to expand this area a little bit faster than we normally would have planned.
Yeah, and for us, it's actually helped fast track a lot of these corporate relationships as they're looking to help local breweries. So it's fast tracked us. So as Royce mentioned, not just for those two partners that we added, Midstate Beverage in Williamsport and Penn Beer Company in Erie, it came with a portfolio of 16 additional counties for us, which was great. But some of the corporate entities that we have now become corporate approved with during all of this have been Wegmans, Whole Foods, Giant Foods, Giant Eagle. So as we now permeate throughout the state, it's really helped us from that now kind of touching every distribution point other than a bar and restaurant. So from convenience stores to grocery stores to six-pack shops and all of the local markets there across those counties.
So it kind of sped up some of your longer term goals, and some of those things have worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah, well, they weren't necessarily longer term goals. They were shorter term goals for us, but it accelerated the approval process for these companies. So it was great for us. So
Did you guys feel like you had any downtime? And if you did, what did you do with it?
yeah, we did have a lot of downtime. So it became as you know, I live in Arlington, Virginia with my family and haven't transitioned up here yet. So fortunately, I am in less than 60 days. That said, Royce and myself, we had to pivot to do deliveries of home deliveries. And so Royce was running around every day doing those, as well as with a couple of other folks. So that was one way that we started to pivot. We were doing distribution to people's homes or work in Warren County, in northern McKean County, in Bradford, as well as in Elk County down in St. Mary's. So it's unusual for us, but I think if we can make it work, it's something that we'll continue to do as things normalize, because it's been great and it's helped our brand tremendously. So,
And actually, there was we try to look at the positives in everything. And, one of the things that we were able to go through is really go through on a more microscopic level, all of the different things that we have going on, all of the different processes. And we finally once had time to catch our breath and go through them with a fine tooth comb and realize, hey, we could probably improve this process, or we could do this a little bit differently. And it would either, conserve, water or energy or something like that, or it could make our lives easier for anybody that's working in this certain capacity on whichever task we're taking on. So, I mean, there was some downtime, but really, there was really 2 weeks where there was almost nothing. And then it was, maintaining the beer in the tanks. And then it became, let's do a deep dive into what we have going on and try to make the most of this time that we have.
That's important because you don't often get time to really take that deep dive like you're saying. So that's great.
No.
It sounds like you also got the chance to not only on a wider level continue to try to find ways to get your product out there, but also locally with those deliveries, really making some accommodations to make sure people could still have your product available to them. How
Yeah.
did you stay in touch with your customers?
a lot of it was
Yeah.
just socially getting in touch with the customer. So opening up the new channels of communication through our online ordering portal, as well as obviously our contact us through our both Facebook, Instagram, and our website. So there was many avenues of channels of communication. It was just a different method of communication, I guess, than typical, because we'd have a lot of people that would come through the actual tap room to ask, where are these places that I can get your beer, as opposed to us having to direct them digitally.
Right. And you have a pretty strong presence on social media too. I think I've seen a lot of great promotions that you've been doing throughout this entire thing. Like, for example, this weekend, you guys are doing something kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the beer and firewood special we have going on. It fits very well into our brand, and we have no shortage of wood that we can convert to firewood. And so we have beer as well. And this really is the weekend where it kicks off for camping, and people stock up on both when they go out and hit the campsite. So, if we can save them a little money on the firewood, and we can give them the beer directly while they're there, it's a I don't want to say it's a one-stop shop, but at least you can get two things in the same place.
Yeah, two of the very necessary things for camping around here.
Yeah. Yeah.
What operational pivots or approaches will you take once things start to reopen?
I think one of the things is really focusing on constant hygiene for us, of the wiping down the doors, the bathrooms. Just, we already run essentially a glorified yeast factory that we're trying to always mitigate bacteria. So we are very conscious of that, and we have a very strict regimen of cleaning as it is. But I think that's certainly going to help us from an operational standpoint to make certain that we take additional necessary steps.
Particularly when the tap room reopens, I'm sure.
Correct.
Yeah, there will be a process in place so that, any of our employees, ourselves, anybody that's up here, we know we have to clean things on a routine basis, and we'll establish those rules, whether it's on the hour. Things like our mug club program, where you use the same mug over and over again potentially. We'll probably have to modify that so that you get a clean glass every time. You're not putting somebody's used glass on the rinse apparatus that we have on our tap system. We just want to make sure that we're being as smart as possible with it. I mean, we run a food manufacturing facility. That's our brewery. Our tap room is a functions almost as a bar or restaurant. So we have to keep things clean and hygienic and sanitary. But this just we just have to up it even more, and that's fine. I mean, that comes with it. And if we weren't doing it in the first place, it'd be a lot harder. But the fact is, we always try to keep it as clean as possible and as sanitary as possible. So it's just a few minor improvements.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen any silver linings during this time?
I think for us, one of the silver linings is that across the state, we've seen now the larger grocery stores and convenience stores really kind of starting to focus on the local and hyper-local communities, as opposed to necessarily now having it 5% of their beer portfolio. It's now taking over 50% of their beer portfolio. So it's certainly helped us, as well as I think that there's going to be a lot of companies that certainly go out of business because of this, unfortunately. So it's going to certainly narrow the craft breweries across the state. We've seen a number of those closing already that relied on their tap room exclusively. So I think that there's definitely silver linings. People becoming now more willing to collaborate as well across breweries, we're seeing, and help one another out. I've seen that as well. So it's also helped us to be recognized by some of the larger companies for supplies. So now with our can supplier, amidst all of this, we're able to order truckloads at a time and have them warehoused for us. So our cost savings have been significant. And now with this pivot, that's been certainly a silver lining for us. So
I think just going to add on that, the support that we see from our everyday customer that does something like they buy a membership to our mug club for $100, and usually that's something that, as a member, you try to chip away at that over the course of a year, and they sign up not knowing when they can do that or take advantage of the perks, and they say, we just want to make sure you guys are still around when this whole thing's done. We heard it from the head of sales down in our distributor in Pittsburgh. He just said, I don't want to live in a world where I can't, have a misery whip, which is one of our beers, or be able to go buy a bucking birch, so what can we do to make sure that together we can weather this storm and get you guys through it? Because with every company that's going through this, it's been very difficult. And there's been a lot of questioning of, do you make it through, and how do you adapt, and how do you adjust? And you can't put it down on a piece of paper. You take it a day at a time and wait until you get the new set of orders that allows you to do certain things. So we're kind of that perfect sized company and brewery where we're not so big that we were sitting on millions of dollars worth of beer that were stockpiled that we don't have anywhere to put it. We're also not too small that we can't keep moving. I mean, we have our own canning line. We have, company vehicles that we can get our beer to different locations. So, we're fortunate, whereas everyone won't be. So, and that's not to rub it in. We're just thankful that we are in this position, and our heart goes out to people that won't be as fortunate. And we wish everybody the best that's going through us. We're no different than everybody else, pretty much.
Yeah, but you've done a nice job of balancing the tap room locally, as well as the wider distribution and the merchandise, and just really having different streams come in. So it sounds like that's all been paying off for this time. Plus, again, being in a small town in the PA Wilds here, you're going to have that heart of the people that are cheering for you and want to make the most of it with you. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Nothing I think motivates me more than when somebody says, whether it's a big player or somebody that tries the beer one time, I just don't think a brewery will make it in Northwest Pennsylvania. That just too rural. Just not gonna happen. We love it. We love when we can overcome obstacles. It just fuels us, and we can just keep moving on.
Yeah. Okay, two more quick questions. Are there any programs, resources, or organizations that you found helpful that you'd encourage other small businesses to check out?
Yeah. I know the Small Business Development Center, specifically the one down in Clarion, and Alicia Marshall down there. She's our eyes and ears out there. She was very quick to let us know of opportunities that were coming up that we should probably throw our hat in the ring for. Local resources. Kate, you were one. We have all of these resources and these partners around that. You have to be willing to make these partnerships and accept help, because when you do, that's how we found out a lot of our information. The Northwest Bank has been very helpful with getting our information that we need, making sure it's accurate so that we can take advantage of any funding that's available. Local friends from other states, that same thing. They don't want to come back to the area and we're not here, to name a few.
Yeah,
Um,
I second all of those. It's certainly other resources for us, not just that are for public. It's been other breweries and said, here's what we're doing. Here's ways that we can pivot. And we've collaborated, not just necessarily on brewing beers together, but how to weather the storm and getting creative. And here's how you can help set up your online store to make it easier for your customers. A lot of different resources out there. It's just been tremendous. The sense of community from everyone willing to help, to say, hey, this isn't just one town or one county, it's a country, and everybody's come together and been almost as if though we are a small community.
And I got a call one day from somebody at the PA Wilds, and they just wanted to ask some questions. They just wanted to know, how are we doing? What types of things were we going through that might benefit another member or business within the PA Wilds region? And the same thing with the Allegheny National Forest Visitors Bureau. I mean, they're actively reaching out and trying to gather information, not to just keep to themselves, to then push that on to another group that might be struggling, that might not know that there's other options there, or that, we tweak something that they could take advantage of. So when you get a phone call or something like that, I also got one from the McKean County Economic Development Council, and just curious, hey, are you guys going to be okay? Share some good news, in a time when there's so much negative. Tell us something good. So we really appreciate it. And there's a reason that we like, and we're proud to be part of the PA Wilds and the Allegheny National Forest Visitors Bureau and the Kane Chamber of Commerce, because when times like this happen, you guys reach out and you're helpful to us, and you allow us to share our story that hopefully impacts and helps somebody else that might not have figured out that next step yet.
Yeah, you guys definitely have some good things to share. So just to wrap it up, are there any moments of humanity or inspiration that you'd want to share to end on kind of a good news note?
Mike?
You mentioned a lot already. I mean, a lot of people have reached out to you, and
sense of humanity is, I think that if you look at CJ Spirits, how they came together and started providing hand sanitizer and creating that for us locally, so that everybody can stay safe or try to mitigate the virus as whenever possible, since there was an extreme shortage, as you know. So that was wonderful, as well as just the community coming together and helping us in any way, shape, or form. As Royce mentioned, from phone calls to texts, we're willing to help in any fashion that we can. I think it's just been very humbling, the community here.
mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Well, you guys keep up the great work. Is there anything else that you want to add that you didn't get to share before we close?
If you have any questions, I mean, you can check us out online. If you don't already follow us on Facebook or Instagram, or just facebook.com/Logyard Brewing, or Instagram @Logyard Brewing.
Mm-hmm.
Feel free to go to our website, which is logyardbrewing.com, see our different beers that we have, and our online store there. We're happy to answer any questions you have, but love to have you as part of our beer community.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. For those watching, the questions and answers for the interview and other resources for small businesses are on the PA Wilds website, which is wildscopa.org. Thank you. And you can also apply to share your story there as well. So thanks again, you guys. Take care, and we'll see
Thank
you.
you, Kate.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.